If you've ever stood in a supplement aisle wondering whether what's in that bottle is what's on the label, this is for you. Over the next few minutes, we're going to walk through 25 years of dramatic change in the nutrition industry, from a Wild West marketplace of synthetic powders and vague promises, to today's era of clinical evidence, third-party verified quality, and real transparency. Because the supplements you took in 1999 are not the supplements that work today, and the standards you should hold them to have changed too. Let's begin. Let's set the stage. Back in 1999, the U.S. supplement industry was still catching its breath after the 1994 DSHEA legislation opened the floodgates. There were roughly 600 manufacturers and 4,000 products on the market, and almost no visibility into where ingredients came from or whether what was on the label was actually in the bottle. Fast forward to today. More than 1,500 manufacturers and over 100,000 products. The volume has exploded, but so has the science, the regulation, and the consumer's right to know. The question is no longer just, does this work? It's, can you prove it? Picture the supplement aisle in 1999. Big box stores, massive bottles of one-a-day multivitamins, and almost everything inside them, synthetic. Lab-created isolates like DL-alpha tocopherol, cyanocobalamin, magnesium oxide, calcium carbonate. These ingredients were chosen because they were cheap and shelf-stable, not because your body could actually absorb and use them. There was almost no disclosure of sourcing, no testing data, and proprietary blends routinely hid embarrassingly low doses of the ingredients people were actually paying for. There's a phrase from that era that still rings true. Consumers were buying expensive urine, supplements their bodies simply could not absorb, in forms that science already knew were inferior. That was the baseline. That was where we started. Here's the contrast in one frame. Then versus now. Then, the standard was synthetic isolates, vitamins detached from the food matrices that nature designed them to work within. Formulations were built on theoretical benefits, not clinical outcomes, and ingredients were sourced like commodities, by lowest bidder, with zero traceability. Now the quality standard looks completely different. Whole food source nutrients with their natural cofactor profiles intact. Botanical actives chosen because human clinical trials proved them effective. Traceable supply chains, sustainability-forward practices, and identity-verified raw materials. This isn't just an upgrade, it's a fundamentally different philosophy of what a supplement should be. Dosing has gone through its own quiet revolution. In the late 90s, supplements were essentially nutritional insurance. The goal was simple. Don't get scurvy, don't get rickets, hit the bare minimum RDA. One size fits all. Then, through the 2000s and 2010s, we shifted toward optimization. Higher potencies aimed at supporting energy, mood, and metabolic function rather than just preventing deficiency. Today, we've entered the therapeutic era. Doses are now calibrated to clinical research showing actual outcomes for inflammation, for cognition, for gut health, for the immune system. The clearest example? Vitamin D. The standard recommended dose has increased roughly 12.5 times since 1999, driven by immune research that simply did not exist back then. Same nutrient, radically different understanding. Here's a concept that changed everything. Standardization. A raw herb varies wildly. The turmeric grown in one field, harvested in one season, might contain 3% of its active compounds. The same plant grown next door might contain 7%. So how do you make a product that works the same way every time? You standardize. You process the herb until you guarantee a specific minimum percentage of the active compound, say 95% curcuminoids in turmeric or 45% EGCG in green tea. This is the difference between hoping a supplement works and knowing it will. It's the death of fairy dust formulations and the birth of clinical predictability. As the saying goes, it's no longer just about the root. It's about the precise bioactive molecule that actually drives the healing result. Let's make this concrete with 5 real examples. Turmeric. The raw root powder you'd find in a spice jar contains roughly 3 to 5% active compounds. Standardized turmeric extract delivers 95% curcuminoids. That's not a small upgrade. That's a different category of product. Green tea, dried leaf, has unknown wildly variable antioxidants. Standardized extract guarantees 50% EGCG, the catechin doing the actual work. Milk thistle for liver support. Ground seeds are inconsistent. The standardized extract guarantees 80% silymarin. Ginkgo for cognitive support. Dried leaf has trace actives. Standardized to 24% flavone glycosides and 6% terpene lactones, you finally get the effect the studies showed. And grapeseed, whole seed powder, has poor absorption. The standardized extract delivers 95% proanthocyanidins, the OPCs that protect your blood vessels. The result? Therapeutic consistency you can rely on batch after batch. Then came the internet, and consumers got their power back. The launch of PubMed and Google Scholar suddenly meant the same studies your doctor was reading were a click away from you. Health information was no longer gated behind a 15-minute office visit. People started comparing labels in real time. Forums lit up with questions about active ingredients, dosages, and bioavailability, and e-commerce broke down geography. Niche, quality-focused brands could finally reach consumers without fighting for shelf space at a big retailer. The black box of proprietary blends began to crack. Consumers started decoding labels, demanding proof, and rewarding brands that respected their intelligence. We're still living in that shift today, and honestly, it's the best thing that ever happened to this industry. While consumers were getting smarter, regulation was finally catching up. In 2010, after a long phase-in, the FDA fully implemented cGMP, Current Good Manufacturing Practices, codified as 21 CFR Part 111. This is the rulebook the industry was missing. It requires strict facility controls to prevent contamination. It demands 100% identity testing on every incoming ingredient. Visual inspection alone is not enough. It mandates master manufacturing records and batch production records that document every weight, every step, and every operator action. And critically, it requires that what's on the label is actually in the bottle, at the strength claimed, free of impurities. Before 2010, a manufacturer could theoretically put almost anything in a capsule and ship it. cGMP created a verifiable paper trail. It's how we separate professional supplement makers from hobbyists. But cGMP is the floor, not the ceiling. The brands that take quality seriously go further. They invite independent third parties to verify their work. That's where NSF International and USP come in. NSF runs rigorous facility audits twice a year, validates manufacturing processes, and operates a banned substance program for athletes. USP, the United States Pharmacopeia, is the gold standard. They confirm identity and potency, screen for heavy metals and other contaminants, and verify dissolution, meaning the product actually breaks down in your gut so you can absorb it. Both are voluntary, which is exactly the point. When a brand pays for and passes NSF or USP verification, they're saying, don't take our word for it, take theirs. That's the kind of trust that has to be earned. We've now entered what I call the age of transparency. Today's informed consumer expects what's been called glass box manufacturing, the ability to see inside the process, not just the bottle. That means certificates of analysis, actual lab reports for the specific lot number you bought, proving the potency claims are met. It means sourcing visibility, not just turmeric, but turmeric from Kerala, India, with a chain of custody. It means QR codes on packaging that link you directly to third-party test results. And it means rigorous safety screening for heavy metals like lead and mercury, microbial contamination, pesticides, and hidden adulterants. Trust is no longer assumed. It must be proven, lot by lot, batch by batch. And that's a beautiful thing for consumers. But it also means you have to know what to look for. Let's get practical. Here are the 4 organizations that act as the consumer's eyes and ears. ConsumerLab.com. They buy products off the shelf, test them in independent labs, verify potency claims, and screen for contaminants. They publish detailed reports. LabDoor, similar approach, with strong focus on purity, label accuracy, and value rankings. Informed Choice, the standard for sports nutrition, testing for substances banned by the World Anti-Doping Agency. And BSCG, the Banned Substances Control Group, often considered the most rigorous drug-free certification available. 2 quick verification tips. First, look for the actual physical seal on the bottle. Fake tested claims and marketing copy are common, but the real logo is harder to forge. Second, go to the certifier's website and search for the product. Their database tells you whether certification is current. These 4 organizations test for the things that matter: identity, potency, purity, and dissolution. And then there's the latest evolution: artificial intelligence. Today, AI tools can synthesize millions of clinical studies almost instantly, identifying which nutrients have the strongest evidence for specific conditions in specific populations. Advanced algorithms catch subtle patterns across studies, optimal forms, synergistic combinations, therapeutic dosage ranges that no single human researcher could spot working alone. And we're moving toward true personalization, with protocols built around one's individual biomarkers and genetics, not just population averages. But here's the important caveat: AI does not replace the clinician, it empowers them. The judgment, the context, the safety check, that still requires a human expert who knows you. The best results in modern nutrition come from this combination: the speed and scale of AI, paired with the wisdom of a trained healthcare provider. Now we have to talk about the dark side of all this democratized information. Social media has given us extraordinary access to health content, but it's also given us a generation of self-appointed experts with massive followings and zero credentials. Many influencers giving nutrition advice have never taken an anatomy and physiology class. They have no training in biochemistry, no understanding of drug-nutrient interactions, no concept of contraindications during pregnancy or surgery. "It worked for me" gets marketed as a universal protocol. Affiliate links and brand sponsorships drive recommendations more than evidence, and the algorithm rewards confidence and virality, not accuracy. Real experts cite studies, not just stories. They acknowledge what they don't know. They ask about your medications before recommending anything. Be very careful who you trust with your health. Let's contrast the two side by side. The viral influencer cherry-picks studies that fit their narrative, ignoring conflicting data. They give blanket advice without ever knowing your medical history or what prescriptions you're on. And their content is shaped by what gets clicks, what trends, and what pays. The trained clinician operates differently. They weigh the totality of the evidence, not just the studies that support their preferred conclusion. They screen for risk before making a single recommendation, checking your labs, your medications, your contraindications, and they're held to ongoing continuing medical education and board accountability, meaning they have to keep learning, and they can lose their license if they don't. Both will tell you confidently what to do. Only one is qualified to actually do it. Credentials matter. Source verification matters. Here's a hard truth about the modern marketplace. The barriers to entry have collapsed. Today, anyone with a logo and a website can hire a contract manufacturer, slap their name on a stock formulation, and call themselves a supplement brand. There are entire private label companies whose entire business model is helping non-experts launch supplement lines in a matter of weeks. Add in the flood of no-name brands on giant online marketplaces, sellers who skip traditional retail vetting entirely, and you have a recipe for confusion at best and harm at worst. Counterfeit lots, false labeling, unknown ingredient sources. Brand owner does not equal health expert. Slick marketing routinely outpaces actual science and safety, and in this environment, the consumer becomes the last line of defense. These risks are not theoretical. Independent testing has found heavy metals, lead, mercury, and arsenic in supplements sold by major retailers. Cheap raw materials carry pesticides, mold, mycotoxins, and bacteria. Label variance is rampant, subpotency, where products contain less than they claim, and on the more dangerous end, spiking, where undeclared pharmaceutical drugs are added so a product appears to work. Then there are interactions. Supplements can dangerously affect blood thinners, anesthesia, blood pressure medications, and pregnancy outcomes, but the average buyer has no idea. And proprietary blends keep ingredient origins obscured, so even when something goes wrong, tracing it back is nearly impossible. The math is simple. Unknown ingredients plus unknown testing equals high risk. Don't trust your body to a product that won't tell you what's inside. So here's your checklist. 6 steps to protect yourself in an under-regulated market. 1. Verify the manufacturer is registered and audited for cGMP compliance. 2. Look for a real third-party seal on the bottle, NSF USP or Consumer Lab. 3. Demand a certificate of analysis for the specific batch you're buying, proving purity and potency. 4. Check the formulation for standardized levels of active compounds like 95% curcuminoids in turmeric. 5. Research the brand's transparency about sourcing and testing. If they hide it, there's a reason. And 6. Consult a qualified healthcare professional before adding any new supplement, especially if you're on medication, pregnant, or managing a chronic condition. In an unregulated market, your safety depends on verification. Do not assume quality. Verify it. One body, one chance. The supplement industry has evolved dramatically over 25 years, and your standards should evolve with it. Choose rigor over hype, clinical evidence and standardized ingredients, not marketing buzzwords. Verify safety and quality. Demand certificates of analysis and third-party certifications, and stay informed and critical. Use research wisely and question social media voices that lack credentials. This is exactly why we built the 3D Dispensary. At 3dhealing.com, you get exclusive access to hundreds of credible, professionally vetted supplement lines. The brands that pass the cGMP standard, carry the third-party seals, publish their COAs, and stand behind their science. We've already done the due diligence so you don't have to. Visit 3dhealing.com today and step into nutrition the way it's supposed to be. Safe, proven, and built for results. Every day, every dose, one body, one chance. Make it count.